A lot of us have been eagerly awaiting this. It's the Pittsman 2. Ever since their Pittsman 1, which was a fantastic watch because it was designed beautifully, very classic, beautifully finished, designed as a pocket watch that's going to be worn on your wrist, that watch got a lot of traction. And today we've got this. It's the Pittsman 2. And check this case out. Very nicely designed. Now it's not a perfect watch. It's got a couple of flaws which I want to share with you guys. But overall, this thing here can almost compete with my Aquaterra. Let's check it out. I'm really impressed with the style of the packaging of this watch, but we're not here for a box, we're here for a watch. And this is it. Now I'm very excited about this watch because I know from the first Pittsman how good that watch is and its quality, and this thing here is fully spec'd up. It is extremely thin. The watch features a Sellita SW300. It is regulated beautifully, and the finishing of this watch is right up there with many of the watches that I own. But like I said in the intro, it's not a perfect watch. There are a couple of flaws which I will touch on this watch, but it really ticks a lot of the good boxes that make an enjoyable experience for a sports watch, something that features 150 meters of water resistance. Very impressed. Now you saw the pop-up. Pittsman has sponsored this video. They've sent this watch out for me to keep. I don't have to send it back. However, as with any manufacturer who sends anything out to this channel, they have zero input into the review content. I'm going to tell you what I think of this watch, good, bad and indifferent. And with this particular watch, in my wearing experience, has been a lot more good than a lot more bad or indifferent. And if you have a look at the specs of the watch, you can see that the proportions of the watch are very, very good. That height is wonderful. Obviously featuring the Sellita SW300, you've got a nice thin profile. The crown is a signed screw down crown. The watch offers 150 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on the supplied bracelet sized to my 18 centimeter wrist comes in at exactly 131 grams. And this is where all the magic has been. The watch has been sitting beautifully. In fact, the watch is finished beautifully. I'm so impressed with what this company has done. The footprint is wonderful. The lug to lug is great. That height is phenomenal. For a sports watch, this is competing with my Omega Aquaterra. And I love that watch. That's a 38mm. That's a real nice sports daily watch. And this thing here is pretty much ticking the same boxes. The comfort on this supplied bracelet has been wonderful. It's got a double click deployant, as you can see, milled, very nicely finished. It does not offer any micro adjustments, just like my Omega. However, they do have half links on both sides. So I've managed to find a really nice balance on the wrist. I've even taken this watch to watch a tennis match the other day. It was such a legible, enjoyable experience. This thing is beaming. Really well done. Now you can probably hear the excitement in my voice about this watch. And honestly, it's not just about this watch. It's actually about this company, Pittsman itself, because when I received their first watch, I was so impressed. As a first watch coming out of a micro brand, I was so impressed with the quality, the attention to detail, the finishing. It really took me by surprise. And because of that, I said in that video that if that's their first Pittsman, I can imagine what their second one's going to be like. And whenever you go watch a movie and you see the sequel, usually the sequel disappoints. And this is not such a case here. They've not only supplied a watch that's of equal quality, they've actually done something better. This is a much higher grade, much more refined, more in keeping with the tradition of Korean design and culture. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the profile of this watch, the case and bezel, they were inspired by Giwa, which is the design of their housing and roofing in South Korea. The watch itself has got a really nice feel about it. The same surprise that I got from their first Pittsman, I've got from this one. A micro brand shouldn't be able to produce a watch this good. Not in their first or second watch anyway. Even when I first looked at the case back and I saw the SW300 with a custom rotor, perlage, blued screws, this thing's been running at 1 second per day. So beautifully regulated, a very stable movement. And for those who don't know about the movement, the SW300 is basically a clone of the ETA 2892. A very robust, strong, reliable movement, tried, true and tested. In fact, my Omega Aquaterra first generation had that movement in it, albeit that had the George Daniels coaxial escapement, beating at a slightly different beat rate. And with this watch, the SW300, this thing's got 56 hours of power reserve, and I tell you what, I've been enjoying this. Watches are meant to make us happy. This thing here is making me happy, and it's only a micro brand. And I say only a micro brand because a lot of us serious watch guys, enthusiasts, oh, you've got to get a name brand or you've got to get this or that. It's got to be something collectible. Well, does it? Does it really? Because we're paying an arm and a leg. My Omega Aquaterra comes in at a shade under $10,000 with a bracelet and the rubber strap. This thing here is substantially cheaper. It's still got 150 meters of water resistance. It's got an amazing feel on the wrist. And honestly, this is where you see the quality of a micro brand competing with the big boys. Especially when they feature a movement like this and exceptional finishing and design. Now, I did say that the watch isn't a perfect watch. Far from it. And one of the things that bugged me from the get-go is that crown. The winding is very good, the latch down experience is buttery smooth, it's all great, but it just doesn't feel, I don't know, there's some, maybe substantial. I just feel potentially half a mil bigger really might have benefited this. But that's a personal gripe. The functionality of it is actually very good. I just don't like it. But that's just me. And my second gripe of the watch was that crystal. You see, the crystal is a single dome sapphire crystal, and I'm not a real big fan of single dome. Albeit they've put more than enough anti-reflective coating on this particular unit to really make it pop so you can see that dial. But also being a single dome, you're gonna pick up reflections, and that's one of my disappointments. I personally would have preferred a double dome crystal on this. Now you've noticed I've approached this review in a slightly different fashion. I've actually bonded with this watch really fast. So that's why I've approached it in the manner of, I'm trying to tell you how I feel. I'm trying to tell you how the watch has made me feel, because the watch's finishing, the watch's usability and friendliness has been great. The bracelet I thought was going to be a negative, but you know what, the comfort has been good. The fact that it's got screw pins, milled swivel, it's got fantastic alignment with the twin deployant. I thought that's going to be an issue because of the lack of micro adjustability. But having the two half links on either side, I found a perfect balance. And we're in the middle of summer here in Melbourne, where my wrist expands and contracts, and it's been spot on. Not dissimilar to my Omega Aquaterra. See, whenever we bond with a watch, whether it's a major brand or a micro brand, some of the things that we do is justify the negatives in our own heart. We try to convince ourselves that even though this is wrong or that's wrong, I'm still happy with the purchase. And that's what this watch has made me feel. I'm trying to find the negatives, and apart from that crown and crystal, this could easily be a replacement for the Aquaterra. It hasn't got the same pedigree, it hasn't got the same history as Omega, I get it. The movement in the Omega is tried, tested, coaxial, phenomenal, anti-magnetic, I get it. For a fraction of the price, getting a watch like this and giving you the same feelings on the wrist because the finishing is phenomenal. That case, I'm looking at the profile and it's actually thinner than my Aquaterra. It sits on the wrist much nicer. The fine satin brushing and high polished bevels are done to a top level. So there's no qualms in regards to quality. This is oozing it all over the place. The gearway shape of that bezel also impressed me. I think the last time I saw a bezel design like this was on a ball watch, and that was quite impressive as well. But moving away from that, if we look at the dial of this watch, you can see it's a couple of layers. There's some three-dimensionality. Those applied indices are deep. The legibility has been second to none on this watch. That handset, for me, very Grand Seiko-ish. Everything's highly polished, good facets, good bevels, and the quality finish seems to be on a very high standard. Now if we look at the lume of the watch, Swiss Superluminova, very evenly applied. It's not blue lume, it's a green lume. I've got a green watch and it's got green lume. That's pretty cool. And the only reason you saw the blue is because I shined my UV light, so the camera picks it up as blue. By removing the UV light source, you can see the lume glows green. I'm really happy that this Pittsman 2 has been released, and also in fact that they've stepped it up in quality. Not that they needed to, because the first watch was great. This is just a little bit better. Also, you've noticed there's no date on this watch. That's been an enjoyable experience. Set the time, wear it, walk away. And having a watch that's running this accurate, with a stable movement like the SW300, 56 hours power reserve, there's a lot of enjoyment having this as a sports watch on the wrist. Let me know what you guys think. If I really wanted to be nitpicky about this watch, I probably could have said it really would have suited an applied logo. That would have been nice. But that sort of stuff I leave up to the design team themselves. As for a watch with presence and a little bit of bling and shine on the wrist in the sun, this thing comes alive. And I'm not a sort of person who just likes to wear watches on bracelets. You guys know me well enough, know that I muck around, so I've placed this on a green rubber strap, an FKM rubber strap from Wise, because that's how I roll. I swap out all my watches and just experiment and enjoy them. And this is what it's all about, enjoying the hobby, enjoying the watches. For me, this is a very cool piece. I'm glad I got a chance to get this on the channel, guys. I'm glad I got a chance to feature it, enjoy it, and I'm trying to treat this with what I think the praise that it deserves. I know Pistman is a new company, but when they gave me the first watch to review and the enjoyment factor I got off that watch, its quality, finish and detail, you sort of tend to think to yourself, for a first watch, these guys know what they're doing. Here's their second watch. Not perfect, but they pretty much nailed it. A couple little quirks here and there that could be rectified for me so it can be an ideal watch. But then again, there isn't a perfect watch anyway. Hit me up in the comments, guys. I hope you enjoyed that review. It was slightly different. Like I said, I approached it on a different perspective because I have bonded with a watch. So I tried to be objective, subjective. I told you what I don't like about it. Everything else, I can just go on and on and on. It's been a joy on the wrist. It's been that good. Thanks once again for watching. I'll leave all the links in the description. Check out these watches. I'll also leave a video link in the description of how this was created, how they designed it. I think that's interesting viewing. If you're keen on the watch, have a look at it, guys, because it's got some interesting information in there on how they designed this watch. And the proof is in the pudding. I've got one in the hand here and it is true to form. Really hasn't disappointed. Thank you again. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you all in the next video.